Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by Sling TV. I am Mike Barner. He is Kirien Sprecher, and we come to you every Wednesday to give you the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. Kirien, it's the day before Thanksgiving. It's a fun day here, getting ready for some family and food. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. A fresh little cover of snow here in Madison, Wisconsin
Oh,
today.
boy.
So really holiday spirit is in full swing over here.
I'm not sure we need that yet, but we're going to talk about some things we're thankful for later in the show. We did that last year, and we'll do that again this year. But first, we're going to go around the league with some news and notes and some potentially good news. Giannis has been upgraded to questionable for Wednesday's game against the Heat. He's missed the last 3 games. The Bucks lost all of them. Not a big surprise based on the talent that's around him. It's been 9 days since he suffered the original injury, and they said he'd be out 1 to 2 weeks at the time. So right in that time frame. Bobby Portis has been great with Giannis out, but man, it'd be great to get Giannis back in our fantasy lineups, right, Kirien?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty confident in saying that since he's upgraded to questionable, that means he's probably trending in the right direction here.
Yeah.
Big thing. You said the big thing. They've lost 3 straight. They started Jericho Sims in their last game. So this whole team is built around Giannis, right? And so when he misses time, it's going to look ugly. And no surprise, given Giannis's, what he's done in his career so far, it is going to be back on the short end of his estimated time return timetable. And I would expect him to play tonight. If he doesn't play tonight, he'll be back in action this weekend.
If you did pick up Portis and have been streaming him, he's been great. Don't drop him yet.
True.
Make sure Giannis, the injury doesn't flare up over the next couple games. Just bench Portis and go from there. Some other potentially good news. Another superstar big man might be coming back soon. Anthony Davis is scheduled to practice Wednesday. The Mavericks are really going to need him because now Derek Lively is talking about missing some extended time here. Davis has been out since October 29th. Now, the Mavericks do have quite a bit of games coming up here. They play Friday, Saturday, and Monday. So Davis at best is probably going to play 2 of those 3 games. But, Kirien, it's nice that we could get Davis back in the lineup.
Yep, absolutely. You said exactly what I was going to say. 3 games in 4 days or whatever it is. So probably unlikely he plays. Probably unlikely he plays multiple games. Maybe we only get one of those. But Dallas is in a similar situation to Milwaukee where things are not going very well and they need their big man back. Unlike Giannis, though, I would be way more cautious with AD coming back. You mentioned that hold on to Portis for sure. Hold on to all of the Dallas streamers that you have, because even if AD plays 1 game this weekend, I'm still not confident that he's going to play, a full allotment of games come December. So I still think a lot of those guys, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, a lot of these guys that are getting playing time, Daniel Gafford, are going to still be valuable or could still be valuable in December. So you don't need to get rid of them just because AD is back at practice, because he's been back at practice a lot recently and still not playing in games.
Yeah, the Mavericks said that Lively's going to miss at least the next 3 games. So Gafford is still available in a lot of leagues, especially over on Yahoo. So he's someone that you definitely want to pick up and stream moving forward. As now, unfortunately, we very rarely get to start off with so much good news. So, of course, eventually we have to shift to the bad news, and we've reached that portion of the podcast. DeAndre Ayton did not play in Tuesday's game against the Clippers. That was just his 2nd missed game of the season. Jackson Hayes started, played 30 minutes. That's great, but only 8 points and 4 rebounds. Not much production from the Lakers center. Kirien, I kind of want to ask a question here with regards to Ayton. This doesn't seem like a long-term injury, so it's probably not anything we got to be overly concerned about. But Ayton is averaging 15.5 points and 8.4 rebounds per game. He's shooting 69.6% from the field. He has been terrible from the free throw line at 56.5%. But this is the question that I have, Kirien. A lot of people are down on DeAndre Ayton. Should we drop him? It's Luka, it's LeBron. Is he that much worse than someone, say, Jared Allen, who's averaging 14.8 points, 7.6 rebounds, shooting 57.7% from the field? He is shooting much better from the free throw line. But you would never hear anybody ask, should I drop Jared Allen? But is Ayton really that much worse than a guy like Jared Allen? I don't think he is.
Yeah, I would be right in the same boat with you. I think as a person that has rostered Ayton in previous years, I have the same sentiment where it's like you can get him at a discount, and then
Yeah.
obviously there's the games. There's those games. November 12th against OKC, 26 minutes, 6 points, 5 boards. Right? There's gonna be those games, right?
Hey,
There's
there's a lot of those games against OKC,
that
regardless.
that's that's very very fair point, but he'll also do it against Memphis or
Yep.
insert team here. And then everybody wants to they watch that game and I don't want to discredit any of our viewers. We watch basketball. When you watch DeAndre Ayton play one of those games, you're like, I have to get rid of every share I have of this guy. He does not care about anything that's happening on the court right now. He has those games. And then he'll also have the games where, the stretch of 3 or 4 games where it's 20-10 and a block every one of those games. And in totality, when we add up his averages at the end of the season, he's going to be right around 15 points, 7 boards, maybe 1.5 stocks. That's just the player he is. So while he's inconsistently consistent, right? Like you just have to roll with the punches. And at the end of the day, the averages are going to make him a solid fantasy player. And like you said, right on, I wouldn't call Jared Allen an elite fantasy player by any means, but a quality fantasy player that you would never talk about dropping in a standard league, like you said.
Exactly. Everybody feels confident when they have Jared Allen on their roster. I think you should feel the same sort of confidence with DeAndre Ayton. Some more bad news. The Raptors just said recently this morning that RJ Barrett is going to miss at least 1 week with a knee sprain. There was some talks yesterday that he was just day to day, that all the imaging came back good. Still no reported bad news from the imaging, but they're saying he's going to miss at least 1 week now. We saw in the first game that he missed, Brandon Ingram went off in the scoring department. He attempted 30 shots against the Cavaliers. He already leads the Raptors in usage rate. So really the training wheels are going to come off there with regards to scoring moving forward. Anybody else here that excites you with RJ Barrett out for at least a week?
Yes, Mike. Sandro Mamu.
Mamu.
I'm not going to say the rest of his name and disparage a great family name, but he could be in the conversation for 6th man of the year by January if he continues what he's doing. He's not playing heavy minutes, but he is very productive in those minutes. Like you said, Brandon Ingram has been fantastic. The Raptors in general have been playing really good ball. As long as Barrett is out, I don't expect, Mamu to start necessarily, but like I said, he's making waves off the bench, and he was doing that even before Barrett was out. Over the last 3 games, 3 double-digit games, a 9 rebound effort in there. He's getting defensive stats. I don't think Sandro Mamu is gonna save your fantasy team, but he could be a very solid fill-in for the next couple of weeks. And the way he's playing is so consistent that I think it's he can replicate it even when Barrett is back. Like I said, only playing 20 minutes, just hyper efficient in those limited actions. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do given this maybe a little bit extra leash with Barrett out for a week.
Yeah, I like that call there, adding Mamu. That's it for the bad news. Let's get back to the good news. And one of our favorites, maybe one of our official top guys on the RotoWire Wednesday Fantasy Basketball Podcast, Norman Powell. There was gloom and doom going across social media yesterday. There's no timetable for Norman Powell's return from his groin injury. Guess what? He's probable for tonight's game against the Bucks. Norman Powell knows we need him back in our lineups. This is great news because the Heat are going to need him. They've got 3 guys questionable tonight: Andrew Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Nikola Jovic. But the Heat starting to get healthy. Looks like we're going to get Powell back here. Tyler Hero returned the other day. He had a good performance, 24 points, 7 rebounds over 29 minutes against the Mavericks. But it's good news that Norman Powell appears to have avoided what, not more than 24 hours ago was looking like a very uncertain injury.
Yeah, absolutely. We were, over at RotoWire, a little inside into how the sausage is made, right? When that no timetable dropped, a lot of people were rushing, like, we should mark him as, ESPN out or 7-day injured so that you can move him to IR eligible, basically, because he's going to miss another game. He left a game early. He's going to miss extended time. And then, 2 hours later, he gets upgraded to probable and he's going to play again. This is exactly why we have loved Norman for the last couple of years. I was even going to add him into one of my players that I'm thankful for this season, because even after his explosion last year, I still got him at a huge discount in a ton of leagues this year. Everybody was like, oh, well, now he's on Miami and they have, these other guys and he's not going to play as much. But Miami was talking about playing much faster, and they have. And Norman Powell has been fantastic in that role. Obviously, Hero's back now, so some usage is going to be taken away. But Miami's playing so fast and scoring so many points that I think, if you're playing well and your shot's falling, you're going to get minutes here. And Norman, we know Powell is always going to get his shots up, and more often than not, they're going to fall. Very easily could have been one of the guys that I was thankful for this year. And I'm really excited to see him back in the lineup so fast.
Our final news and notes item here is going to check off a couple of questions in the chat too. Dylan Harper has been out the last 10 games with a calf injury. He's been upgraded to questionable for tonight's game against the Trailblazers. Before he went down with his injury, averaging 14 points, 4 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists. Stephon Castle is still out right now. So, Kirien, we got a couple questions in the chat here. Is he worth picking up? Should we drop Najee Marshall for Dylan Harper? I think he's definitely worth picking up. I'm okay with dropping Najee Marshall for him. What do you say, Kirien?
Yeah, I just said, probably you don't want to drop a guy like Najee Marshall yet. I probably meant like you don't want to take him off of your streaming radar yet, right? Like Najee's been a better like streaming candidate. I'm just in so many deep leagues that he is a must-roster player in these 16, 18-team leagues. But yeah, I think Harper will probably face some restrictions coming back. It's a calf, right? So that's part of the equation this year, right? Given all of the Achilles injuries that originated as calf injuries. So I think they'll be a little bit cautious with him, but I couldn't have been higher on Harper to start the season. He looked much like Stephon Castle last year when he won Rookie of the Year. Harper just looked mature. He looked to have, like, as a guard coming into the NBA, playing your first couple of NBA games and you controlling the pace like he does. He's a big body. He's super athletic, great passer, great scorer, good free throw shooter. I'm very, very high on Harper and probably going to be restricted here, but there could be some games, then at the end, maybe next week when Castle and Wemby are still out, where maybe Harper gets his first career start. And that would be pretty exciting. But yeah, I couldn't have been more excited about what I saw from Harper early on. And I hope we see that same player coming off of this, what is, I don't want to say serious injury, but a concerning injury given what has happened with calf injuries recently.
With regards to a minutes restriction, he wasn't playing 35 minutes a game anyways. So you're looking at basically Stephon Castle is out and De'Aaron Fox is in. So those two, in terms of minutes, De'Aaron Fox basically just absorbs the minutes that Castle was playing. And it's not like Victor Wembanyama being out is going to affect Harper's playing time because there's a center and a guard. So I think you're still going to see Harper play between 24 and 28 minutes a game. So if they restrict him, he's going to maybe play 4 fewer minutes a game for his first 1 or 2. Excuse me. Got all so choked up there trying to stand up for Dylan Harper. I don't think it's going to be that big of an impact moving forward. So now Kirien and I are going to talk about some things that we're thankful for, whether it be fantasy related or anything. But before we do that, a word from our good friends at Dabble. Dabble isn't just another DFS app. It's the ultimate social platform where you can connect with other fantasy sports lovers. Dabble lets you win big. You can win up to 5,000 times your money this basketball season. Starting with Dabble is easy. New users get $25 free when signing up. No deposit necessary. Check out the link in the episode description below to download Dabble now. All right, Kirien, we got Thanksgiving coming up tomorrow. Uncle Bob and Aunt Janet, if they're not there already, they're in the car on their way over, listening to the oldies station, and you're getting out all your deviled eggs and shrimp platters to appease their taste buds. But let's talk about some things that we're thankful for as we get ready for tomorrow. You go first, Kirien.
Yeah, so I'm just going to start it off. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. Been living in Wisconsin for most of my life. So I'm just going to start it off with a Wisconsin kid that is absolutely taking the league by storm this year, and that's Kon Knueppel. I drafted Kon Knueppel in almost every single one of my leagues. The kid has been absolutely unreal. Miles Bridges even said that he's been the best player on the Hornets so far this season. Obviously, Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball have missed a lot of time. But even with them back in the lineup recently, it's kind of been Knueppel has been the driving force. I have a soft spot in my heart for him just because, I watched him play growing up. or I was grown up. I watched him like grow up and play. I'm getting that old now. It's sad to see, but just an absolutely incredible stretch. He went through a little rough patch at the end of October. But since the beginning of November, 23 points, 6 boards, 3.5 assists, a steal per game, shooting over 50% from the field. For a rookie, that's just incredible. I talked a lot about Knueppel being the most NBA-ready player in this draft class, but I didn't think his upside was going to be this high, right? I thought he was going to be, a 13 to 15-point scorer, hit a couple threes, make a couple good passes. He's just exceeded everybody's expectations and is definitely worthy of a player that I'm thankful for, as he's carrying a lot of my teams and keeping some of my teams afloat this year.
Yeah, I would not be worried about his playing time at all. I think the guys to worry about with the return of Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball are Colin Sexton and Trey Mann. Those are the guys that are not, Trey Mann's been good. Colin Sexton's not a long-term part of what the Hornets are looking to do. So I think you'll see a lot of LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Kon Knueppel on the floor together. So could his usage rate go down a bit? Yeah, sure, probably, but not enough to make it we're like, oh no, I need to sell high on Kon Knueppel. I can't agree with you more. That is a great guy to be thankful for. And I want to be thankful for Jalen Johnson finally being healthy.
Another Wisconsin kid, by the way.
Yeah. Well, look at this. It's all Wisconsin all the time over here. Not by choice. But Jalen Johnson has missed just 2 games this season. They were both part of a back-to-back set earlier in the season. He has since played both halves of the Hawks' last 2 back-to-back sets. So those rest situations are out of the way. Since Trae Young went down over the last 13 games, Johnson's averaged 21.8 points, 10.3 rebounds, 7.8 assists, 1.7 steals, and 1.6 three-pointers. He is currently on pace to set career highs in field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and free throw percentage. This guy, when healthy, is a first-round, top 12 fantasy player, and I am so thankful that he is healthy right now, and I cross my fingers and my toes and anything else possible, knock on wood, whatever, and hope that he stays healthy for the rest of the season.
Last 30 days, Jalen Johnson is a top 5 player in 9 category leagues this year. So yes, you are absolutely correct that he is a first round value. So this is pretty chalk here, but I'm also thankful for Nikola Jokic. I don't really need to say much here. Dude's averaging a 30-point triple-double. The only thing I'll say is that every night that I watch him, and I watch him every single time he plays because he's much watched TV, and I also have him in a lot of fantasy leagues. Every time I watch him play, he does something that my jaw drops. And that's just, you don't say that about many players, especially with this 82 game season and a lot of players taking time off and missing games. Jokic never misses games. He always puts on a show. He always, puts his team in winning spots. He's just one of the best players of our generation. And I'll be thankful for him this year and for many years to come.
Before I move on to my next player that I'm thankful for, let's hear a word from our friends at Sling TV. Tired of paying for live TV you don't watch? With Sling, you can get all the live sports, news, and entertainment you want, only when you want it. Get your hands on a Sling day, week, or weekend pass starting at just $4.99. Get over 30 of your favorite channels for the best price and stop paying for full-time live TV plans. Sling has a pass for any occasion. Big game tonight? Grab a day pass for just $4.99. Want a full week of live TV for one low price? Get a 7-day week pass. And for all those weekend watchers out there, you can enjoy live sports, news, and entertainment from Friday morning to Sunday night with a weekend pass. Only Sling lets you watch when you want, so you only pay for what you watch. Get live TV for the day, week, or weekend, your choice, all for a great price. Watch live TV in your terms starting at just $4.99. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com/deals today and tell them RotoWire sent you. All right, for the next guy that I'm thankful for, we're also going to combine this for the Bulls Minute because we have to have a Bulls Minute before we go into Thanksgiving. I am thankful that Coby White is back. In the last 4 games since he made his return, he's averaged 24 points, 6.8 assists, and 3.5 three-pointers. He played 35 minutes in Monday's loss to the Pelicans, so there are no more minutes restrictions on him moving forwards. Now, he has had some cake matchups. 3 of his 4 games have come against the Pelicans, Wizards, and Jazz, who all stink. But the Bulls and our fantasy lineups badly need his scoring and his late game clutch shooting. The Bulls defense is terrible, so they're going to win games by outscoring teams, not by stopping them in the final few minutes of the game. I think Coby White has a very high floor in fantasy. Don't be worried about him playing alongside Josh Giddey or Ayo Dosumnu's ascension or how well Trey Jones is playing or Kevin Huerter. Coby White is going to be one of the top usage rate guys on the Bulls. He's going to play 35 minutes a night on a team that goes up and down the floor all the time. I am so happy to have Coby White back in my fantasy lineups.
Yep, totally agree. I was stashing him in a couple of leagues and was super excited to activate him. And he came out gangbusters right away, playing a lot of minutes, shooting the ball well. To extend the Bulls minute into a second Bulls minute, as we love to do here. I'm also thankful for Ayo Dosumnu. You mentioned him. Little changing his game up a little bit so far this year. Rebounds are down, assists are down, steals are down, but he's scoring at an all-time clip for him, over 16 points per game, shooting 56% from the field, 48% from three, 85% from the free throw line. Dosumnu is just a guy. He's the perfect Swiss Army knife. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for being a winning player. And he's been a solid fantasy option this year too. But I think his value is really just, comes outside of the box score a lot of times. But the box score, it has been looking fine too. I think, there's been some injuries. Huerter's out, Okoro's out. So maybe when they're fully healthy, Kevin Huerter has missed some time. Maybe when they're fully healthy, Dosumnu kind of takes a back seat. But this kid, he's just exceeded all expectations as a second round pick. Played at least 26 minutes per game in each of his first 5 seasons. Like this kid just is a baller, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't need to score 20 points per game. He doesn't need to be the lead point guard. He doesn't need to guard the best player. But if you ask him to do any of those things, he's going to do it. I love watching him. I'm on my favorite team. I love him I love him as like on my team. I love him on my fantasy teams. He just doesn't get enough credit, and obviously he's not quite on the caliber of these other players that we've mentioned in this segment in terms of fantasy production. But I still think he's an awesome guy and worth a shout out this year.
I love Ayo Dosumnu too. I worry what the Bulls are going to do with him. They have Trey Jones. They have a lot of guards long term. I fear that they're going to let him go in free agency. I really don't want them to. He would be a great bench piece for a contending team. He can guard so many positions. He's really good at attacking the rim. He's really improved his three-point shooting. You couldn't have said it any better. Ayo Dosumnu is a guy that we should all, and not just Bulls fans, but we should all be thankful for. I am thankful for my final thing, daily lineup leagues. I despise, I hate weekly lineup fantasy basketball leagues. I think they should be abolished. We should make them extinct like the dodo bird. Get rid of these archaic. I understand people like fantasy football. I understand they like to set their lineups one time. That's not how the NBA works. We've seen so many guys miss games. We see so many guys get rested. There's back-to-back games every week where star players we build our fantasy teams around do not play. And then there's the injuries. You could have a Tuesday and one of your top guys goes down and you got to sit there and see him in your lineup for the next 5 days because you're in a weekly lineup league. Get rid of weekly lineup leagues. Every league should be daily lineup moves. Not only setting your lineups, I think you should be able to add guys off the waiver wire every day. At a minimum, you have to be able to do waivers 2 times a week, but I prefer to do it every day. We love fantasy basketball. If you're listening to this podcast, you love fantasy basketball. Setting your lineups is not a chore. It's fun. We should be able to do it every day. Get these injured guys out. Don't want them. Daily lineup leagues. I love you. Stay around forever.
I couldn't agree more, Mike. Bringing a couple of the topics together here. I have Dylan Harper in a league, in a weekly setting league, where I didn't start him this week because I wasn't expecting him to come back, and I could definitely use his production this week. It just sucks. My entire team's injured. Grayson Allen, Trey Jones got hurt. Another situation where I could have dropped him on Sunday, but they were talking about just a day-to-day injury. So I was like, well, maybe we'll see. I'll keep him around. And then on Monday, he gets ruled out for foreseeable future. And he's just going to be stuck on my roster this entire week, not doing anything. So I totally agree with you. I think the understanding of like, oh, I can't set my lineup every week. Okay, well then don't find someone that can, or get another manager.
Well, you know what? If that's what you want, if you don't want to set your lineup, then the two options should be daily lineup leagues and best ball.
Yeah.
That should be the two options. If that way, you also get a workaround around injuries, because if those guys are out, you get somebody else put in your lineup. So that should be the two options: daily lineup leagues or best ball. Weekly lineup leagues, get rid of them. They're the worst.
Totally agree. Preaching
it's like
to the
candy
choir.
corn. Candy corn should have been abolished years ago. Get rid of weekly lineup. This is not fantasy football.
No food takes before Thanksgiving. We're gonna get canceled, Mike.
Now, all right, let's do that here. We got a couple seconds here. What's your favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving, and what's your least favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving, Kirien?
I'm bread and butter, mashed potatoes. I could eat the entire thing of mashed potatoes that my grandma makes every year. It's an unhealthy obsession. My wife, the first time, we started talking in college right before Thanksgiving, and then went off to Thanksgiving break. And one of the first conversations we ever had was about how much we love mashed potatoes together. So that's definitely my favorite. And I would say anything like cranberry related, I'm not about.
Oh no. So I like cranberry is not my favorite, but I'll get my favorite stuffing. But I will say about the cranberry, if you're gonna do it, this might not be the popular take. It's got to be the gel that oozes out of that can.
That's better. That's better. I'll agree. I agree with that.
I really like that. In terms of things that I don't like, this is also not going to be a popular take. I don't like gravy. Oh, I just can't. If I'm going to combine something with my turkey, I use the gelatinous cranberry sauce.
All right.
I don't use that. It just doesn't clench my palate. I don't like it. I don't like gravy. I know people are going to say you're nuts. Yeah, I am nuts. I'm getting older. I don't like gravy. I just say things now. My filter's coming off. I'll tell it. I don't like gravy. Gravy is trash. Put it on your food. Tastes better without it.
I like the you gotta the turkey's gonna be dry anyway, so the cranberry sauce, you gotta get something to give it a little juice there. So I that's fine with me. But gravy, I put gravy on everything.
I know. Everybody loves gravy. My mom gets all over me. Why aren't you eating the gravy? Well, I don't like the gravy, Mom. I don't like it. It tastes bad. Give me some more of that gelatinous.
You got to put some meat on your bones, Mike. You're looking like Dale and Terry over there.
No, I ate a sandwich, Kirien. I'm not Dale and Terry. Not Dale and Terry. All right, so we're gonna do some questions from the chat. But before we do that, a word from our friends at Chalkboard. Cash in on your NBA picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players receive a free pick and 100% deposit match. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or handling the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports. Now available in 30-plus states. Download Chalkboard today and use promo code ROTONBA, that's ROTONBA, to receive a free pick and 100% deposit match. And we're also thankful for all of the sponsors of the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast and all of our great viewers and listeners who come into the chat here and give us questions every week. So, Kirien, let's answer a few of them here. We already got the Dylan Harper ones out of the way, but what else is on the docket for today?
So Bruce wants to activate Jaren Jackson Jr., but he needs to drop either Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Ace Bailey, Peyton Watson, Quentin Grimes, or Cam Johnson. What are your thoughts on this one?
Grimes.
All right,
because I think he's got the Alexander-Walker you can't drop unless you have so much scoring you don't know what to do with it, because he's basically points, threes, and some steals. Ace Bailey's a bit inconsistent, so I can see why you went there, but I think he's got way more upside than Quentin Grimes. Peyton Watson and Cameron Johnson are in great spots right now with Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon out, so I keep those two. So Grimes by default.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The Quentin Grimes, he finally got his first start of the season and played his fewest minutes. And had his season low in scoring, so that was a weird one. And Orlando just absolutely.
Orlando's tough. That's another tough man. Not as tough as OKC, but they're tough on on wings and guards and stuff. They're so long.
And a couple of weeks ago, I said drop Cam Johnson, but now with Brown and Aaron Gordon out,
completely changed.
It's
Kirien.
completely
His
changed.
outlook has completely changed.
Yeah. And I still think, it's going to be mostly scoring. The rebounds and assists, you're not really going to get much there, but there's going to be enough scoring options to go around with those two guys. So, yeah, I think Grimes is the option here, even though he theoretically is getting starts recently, but hopefully Edgecombe comes back. Maybe Paul George is back in the lineup soon too. Thanks, Bruce. Bally says Trae Young and Jalen Green outlook when they return. Well, this is an interesting one. Well, you go first here, Mike.
Yeah, they're both out for a while. I think we're probably looking at maybe a month more on both of them. So it's not like this is something that you got to be worried about anytime soon. But Trae Young would be the guy I'd much rather have, simply because of the much higher upside in terms of assists. Jalen Green is going to give you a lot of scoring, but he's sharing the ball with Devin Booker. I mean, Trae Young can lead the league in assists again. So I'd much rather have Trae Young. I don't think Jalen Green's a bad option by any means. But I'd much rather have Trae Young.
Much rather have Trae Young. I think with the way Phoenix is playing, they're pretty encouraging. Colin Gillespie has been really fun to watch. Grayson Allen was really fun to watch before his recent injury. My big take here is the Hawks have looked better without Trae Young. I know.
Not last night.
No,
that was and of course I've been riding the Jalen Johnson over gravy train, whether it be rebounds and assists or points. I decided to take points last night. And he couldn't hit anything. He was throwing up. He was 2 feet from the rim and he couldn't make it. At one point, he was 1 for 10 from the field. But I'm not going to, because we're thankful for Jalen Johnson. But that was frustrating last night. But yeah, I mean, they have looked really good without him.
Yeah, so here's my take with the Hawks. I think they're a better regular season team without Trae Young probably, but they're going to need Trae Young in the playoffs to win playoff games. So I don't. Zach Lowe has been talking about maybe they trade Trae Young before the deadline if they're still a middling team. I don't know about that, but I think the core of Atlanta is super fun. I was really high on them. You see, even with Trae Young out, these guys step up. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they're Krejci's been playing good. Kennard's had some good games. But I think they need Trae Young to win playoff games. So I think he's still going to be the number one when he comes back. Phoenix has been fun too. So I think both of these guys are worth stashing and just hoping that they look like their dominant selves when they come back. Andrew Wiggins or Reed Shepherd, 12-team 9-cat rest of season. Oof, I am not the biggest Andrew Wiggins fan, and I am really high on Reed Shepherd, but I don't know if I'm ready to take that leap. Are you?
I am. Well, I'm jumping off. There's just no upside with Andrew Wiggins. His usage rate's already down, and that was without Tyler Hero. When the Heat get healthy, he's going to be way down the list in terms of shots. And I think Reed Shepherd is on the up, while I think Andrew Wiggins is on the down. So I'd rather take the higher upside in Reed Shepherd right now. That's strictly, it's close. So when it's close, I lean upside, and that's what I would take Reed Shepherd.
Totally. That's totally fair to me. I didn't want to be the one to jump off, but
I'll say it. I already said I hate gravy, so I'd be more than easy to say I'll take Reed Shepherd over Andrew Wiggins.
As the follower I am, since you're jumping off the cliff, I'll jump off the cliff with you too, buddy. Brandon Williams or Mamu? I like Mamu. I think he just brings a little bit more to the table than Brandon Williams. I think Brandon Williams is a fun watch, but Dallas just isn't. You never know what you're going to get from Dallas week or night in, night out. The Raptors have looked really consistent, and Mamu has looked really consistent. The only thing there is he just doesn't get a ton of minutes. What are your thoughts on this one?
Can I offer a different Williams? Vince Williams Jr.? Can we take maybe? I don't know if that's maybe what they meant to talk about.
Okay, yes. If that's,
I'll take Vince Williams Jr.
Yeah. If it's Vince Williams, absolutely. Yeah.
If not, I'll take Mamu. But if it's Vince Williams Jr., I'd take him.
You're probably right about that one. Don says, what do you think about KPJ as a stash on IL Plus right now? It's worked out well for those of us who believed in Keegan Murray. True. I think if you can stash him, you stash him. But if you start taking on more injuries, you can probably use that player on a higher level. I think KPJ will be around, an 80 to a top 120 player when he comes back on any given night. But I think with the way Ryan Rollins is playing, it's going to be Ryan Rollins. But the Bucks have been playing super fast. So KPJ basically takes Gary Trent. He takes Cole Anthony. He just, a little bit of, I said Gary Trent, Gary Harris, Cole Anthony, they're probably out of the rotation, take some usage away from Gary Trent. So I think he can still be a solid player, but I don't think he's going to have quite the upside he did before his injury.
Yeah, the outlook of that has completely changed with the Ryan Rollins ascension. I don't mind it if you have an open IL spot, but I will say this, if you have another guy in your team that gets hurt in the meantime and you have KPJ on stash in your IL, don't hesitate to drop him so you can move a higher up player onto your IL spot and then get someone who's giving you immediate production.
All right. I like that. Prince Fountain says Jaren Jackson Jr. and Buzelis for Jalen Williams, J-Dub, a good trade. I think that's a good trade. Obviously, if you are receiving J-Dub, you got to kind of hold your water or you hold your nose a little bit here because you don't know when he's going to come back. But I would much rather have J-Dub than Jaren Jackson or Buzelis. I still think Buzelis is a fine, like he's going to bounce back. He's going to have a good season. Jaren Jackson is just meh to me. I'm not don't like what I see, and J-Dub just has way too high of an upside.
I don't like trading for injured players.
That's fair.
But I would lean towards doing this. I'm not enthusiastically saying yes, do it. I would lean towards it just because Jaren Jackson Jr. has not been great, and he's also an injury risk.
Yeah.
So at any point he could be down, and then you're looking at, Buzelis, we all love him, but he's not anywhere in the same stratosphere as Jalen Williams. So I think that's a risk I'd be okay taking.
Totally. I also got to shout out Don. They're talking smack about the Lions and the Packers big matchup tomorrow here. He made a blockbuster trade for Cade Cunningham. I love Cade. I think that I told you this was a good trade. The Pistons are awesome. Congrats on the Pistons. Tomorrow should be a lot of fun. I want to say I have confidence in the Packers offense, even though no other Packer fan has confidence in them. But we'll see. Tomorrow should be fun. Hopefully, I don't swear too much in front of the in-laws. Well, a couple more questions here, and then we'll get to what was that.
Yeah, let's do two more.
Who to drop when another KPJ, Gillespie or Reed? See, this is tough. I think it's got to be Gillespie here. But also Gillespie and Reed have been playing really, really well, and we're not really sure what KPJ is going to be. But if I had to pick one, I would pick Gillespie. That's fair.
Completely agree. I definitely wouldn't drop Reed Shepherd. Gillespie is going to get dinged when Grayson Allen eventually comes back, so he'd be the guy that I would get rid of.
Totally. All right. All right. I'm not sure how to say this name. Edith. Need to drop one. Anthony Black or Brandon Williams, 9-cat 12 team. Well, after what Anthony Black did last night, it's going to be hard to drop him. But Brandon Williams, like I said, you don't really know what you're going to get night in and night out, but he has had some pretty solid games. What are your thoughts on this one?
I drop Williams just because it's going to be too much of a roller coaster. If anything happens to Jalen Suggs, who hasn't exactly been a picture of health, then Black steps into a good role. So I think you got much higher upside with Anthony Black. So he'd be the guy I'd go with.
Totally fair. Anthony Black over the last 6 games, 18 points, 3 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals. So he's really coming along on his own. I also, not to say that Brandon Williams isn't going to stay the starting point guard, but they have gotten a lot of positive news on Ryan Nembhard recently, returned to the lineup. I think he was undrafted, maybe a second-round pick. I know he doesn't have the draft pedigree or whatever, but Dallas needs anything they can get, and Ryan Nembhard can run a functional NBA offense and get a ton of assists. So maybe his return kind of negates Brandon Williams a little bit more, and like you said, the Suggs boosts Anthony Black a little bit more on that one.
Definitely. Well, thank you everyone for the chat, for the questions here. We appreciate you tuning into the show each week. And now it's time for the best segment in all of the podcasting universe, the What Was That Stat Lines of the Week. Kirien, you are up first.
All right, well, you don't have to go too far back. I'm going right back to last night. CJ McCollum, 46 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, and 1 steal. He was 17 for 25 from the field, 10 for 13 from deep, 2 for 4 from the free throw line. I don't know how you only missed 3 threes and 2 free throws. We got to get that worked out, McCollum. Get back in the gym. CJ McCollum, going back to his Lehigh days, always been a bucket getter, always been a fun watch. I know he's getting up there in age, and these types of offensive explosions are few and far between, but he's already dropped 40-plus points twice this year. He had 4 such occasions last year, including a 50 ball when he made 10-plus threes. So, what was that? CJ McCollum, once a year, he's good for making 10 threes, and last night was one of those times.
I think we did this is the reverse. What was that stat lines of the week? Because I'm going to talk about Nikola Jokic, and I'm pretty sure on one earlier in the season, I talked about McCollum and you talked about Jokic. So, we're just coming full circle here. We're just 2 old guys forgetting about who we talked about. Who did I talk about before? Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about Nikola Jokic back on November 24th. He took 9 shots and 5 free throws against the Grizzlies. 9 shots, 5 free throws. Multiple-time MVP, NBA champion. He still dominated the game. He had 17 points, 10 rebounds, 16 assists, 2 steals, and 3 3-pointers. The game prior, he had 28 shots and 10 free throws against the Kings. He had 44 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 3-pointers. He's played 17 games this season. He has 10 triple-doubles. The guy's making half-court shots like he's just standing in his driveway. He's making behind-the-back passes in the paint with a guy right on his hip. We see new things from Nikola Jokic every night. No Aaron Gordon, no Christian Brown until at least January. So we're going to see more closer games for the Nuggets, which means more minutes for Jokic moving forward. He just does things that shouldn't be possible, not for a guy of his size, but for anyone. What was that? Nikola Jokic takes 9 shots in a game, still comes away with a triple-double. The guy is unbelievable.
And everything about his offense is insane, but what he does defensively, I feel like people still don't get credit for. Like,
he's much better.
I know sometimes he'll get driven by and he doesn't want to pick up fouls, so he just lets them go and it looks bad. But he is organizing the defense on every single play. He knows exactly what play is being ran. He's telling people where to go, and getting in passing lanes. He's almost always averaged at least 2 stocks per game in his career. Offense, everybody talks about. I think we got to start talking about Jokic's defense and his cerebral side of the game on that end of the court as well. But yeah, Jokic could be what was that stat line of the week every week.
Very well put. And with that, that is the end of today's RotoWire Fantasy Basketball broadcast brought to you by Sling TV. Kirien and I will be back to you again next Wednesday to give you all the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. And until then, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Have fun with your families and eat lots and lots of food. Just no gravy.
Have a good one, everybody. Don't listen to Mike's food takes.